I had the chance to play the freshly announced Shadowlands changes and systems on a top secret alpha server available only to the most elite human beings and or gamers. Amongst these was the highly anticipated Conduit Soulbind system that is aimed at shaping class and spec play in the expansion's endgame. Follow my Twitch, you animals! It's important to note that this is the first official peek we've had at this system, and it is alpha, so make sure to provide lots of feedback and your thoughts so we can make it the best system and ensure we don't have a disappointment come live release. This is a team effort, where Blizzard will listen to us all. Well, apart from, you know. Soulbinds and Conduits are Blizzard's newest endgame system, aimed at providing a further range of depth to your character power, benefits, and mechanics. You're essentially given a mini talent tree of sorts, allowing you to pick a path that branches in some areas to fit your playstyle and strengths, or make life easier in some other ways, like gold and material acquisition. Let's nail some quick terminology. A Soulbind is the tree with predetermined passives unrelated to your class. Each Soulbind comes with empty slots, which is where you socket your largely spec-specific conduits into. If you played during Legion, you might get some loose relic vibes here. Soulbinds are unlocked via endgame questing within your chosen covenant. You unlock 3 NPCs that essentially become your talent trees, and you can choose which talent tree or Soulbind is active within your covenant sanctum at any time. Once you've selected, you need to choose which path you want to go down based on the predetermined Soulbind abilities that are present in each path and the conduit slot type that is available. After you've made your selection, you fill in the tree and start slotting your conduits that best match your playstyle or needs. Note that there are 3 conduit and slot types: Potency, which is offensive, Endurance, which is defensive, and Finesse, which is essentially support or survival. You of course need to match the appropriate conduit to the correct slot type, which might be hard for some players. It's important to note as well that for the limited conduits that I tested, it seemed that they did not stack, so if you have 2 to 3 conduits of the same type down one branch, you can only benefit from a specific conduit once. Soulbind branches can easily be respec'd here as well if you want to choose a different path of Soulbind ability and conduit combinations. It's important to note that the current cost is a very low 1 anima and is likely a placeholder. On a broader note, it seems anima was the main fuel for several things, including the new mission table. This could have some concerns for alts or people who don't play regularly, as they can fall behind on anima as a currency, in some ways similar to early coalescing visions in 8.3 and falling behind there. Likely though, since this is an expansion-wide resource, it should be fairly easy to get, and there's likely to even be some passive sources. A sign of good faith that Blizzard could do is have a way to siphon anima from your main to an alt from day 1, rather than the usual wait like we see on the later patches for war resources. Once you've selected your final branch, you can go out into the Shadowlands and become the epic adventurer that you were meant to be. Now that we've broken down the general flow of the system, we need to have a look at some good things and perhaps some areas for concern that need to be stated. Amongst all the argument and clamoring with respect to needing to lock in a covenant choice, it's a breath of fresh air that both conduits and soulbinds are easily swappable at any time, and seem to have a low cost to do so, or at least are advertised as such. Let's hope Blizzard doesn't do something like increasing costs every time you respec. That would be really uncalled for, and I'm glad they've never done that. There seems to be a more creative collection of conduits that actually require some thinking and active play to take advantage of, rather than nothing but passive boring increases to damage. Although those still exist, in order to have a true myriad of variety, the boring options do need to be there. So overall, it's nice to see both, as they both belong to different conduit slot families. I do have a concern though of the direction they may go in, as I'd love to see more conduits that affect or are affected by gameplay, even so far as maybe some rotational changes, but have a deep-seated fear that we may end up with nothing but passives everywhere. I sure hope not. I do further appreciate that branches have trade-offs and considerations that need to be made. You often have to combine an offensive slot with something defensive or utility-based. You can't just spec down one branch and have nothing but throughput, so it forces you to consider various aspects about your character or gameplay when making your decision. These can vary from things like direct damage output to free transmog costs to getting herbs as a bonus, or to just increasing stamina when not moving. These creative decisions will be a welcome addition. Players will rejoice and immediately ignore it one day later and spec how sims tell them to. The effort was put in to try and make players be creative, A for effort, but this "at least you tried" cake won't go to waste now. Conduits have been hinted at being obtainable from various sources, though it remains to be seen what that may mean. This could be things like raids, arena bags, weekly chests, world quests, dungeons, please Mythic Plus as well. However, it may also mean things like another awful honor grind like Blood of the Enemy. The fact that conduit powers don't stack can be seen as good or bad, but I believe holds more promise than concern, as it'll force some potential creativity and also won't have you farming the same source to get multiple of the conduit that you need. On the flip side, of course, some people may respect and enjoy the freedom to just stack the same power similar to Azerite so that they double and triple down on the effect. However, change is a bit welcome here in my opinion. But you know what they say, different strokes for different folks. As level-headed and devil's advocate as I like to be, there are some pretty big red flags with the system, some of which I'm hoping fall into the "don't worry, it's alpha" category. As always, balance is a concern, but I have noticed some effort to make sure things stay consistent. As mentioned earlier, you'll see defensive, mechanical, or utility slots often paired with output, so each branch segment provides some amount of each category. Furthermore, some of the original overpowered data mined abilities like the Venthyr cheat death seem to no longer be there, as they realized that it was completely bonkers out of line in terms of balance. The issue won't be so offensive within your Covenant, as you can freely swap, and hopefully they nail the goal of balancing just enough to at least make you want to use different Soulbinds under different circumstances. The problem, however, will stem from your inability to use the other 75% of Soulbinds as they pertain to a different Covenant. I'll touch more on that towards the end of the video. The next issues cascade off of one major problem with the current system. When slotting a new conduit, it will destroy the one being replaced. This has a domino effect in that changing specs or roles keeps the same conduits in place, but now of course they need a swap to the new spec or role. As example, a prot warrior who has slotted certain conduits on one branch may not only just want to generally respec, but may respec from prot to arms, and now still has prot specific conduits in one of the branch choices. This now needs to be completely destroyed to slot the arms conduits, and the prot ones are now lost forever and need to be reobtained or refarmed. This could pessimistically be a means to keep people interested in farming and playing, since a lot of loot randomization has been eliminated moving into Shadowlands. However, before we all raise our pitchforks, it does currently state in the warning message that it's a placeholder, and there were some rumblings at BlizzCon when it was announced that they would be interchangeable, so we can be a little optimistic here. Regardless, they need to move away from any thought of destroying conduits on reslotting, which innately fixes the respecking issue. Furthermore, it would be nice for the game to just remember different conduits for different spec loadouts. The bigger picture I'd like to see here is that the system moves in a library style direction where you either permanently unlock them and can repurchase them for a small amount of, let's say, anima, or we can just have an essence style library where once you've unlocked a conduit, you have it permanently and it doesn't take up any bag space. As mentioned earlier, concern for balance is a beat that we can all bang to, but I have confidence that the balance between the three Soulbinds within a Covenant will land in an acceptable range, encouraging players to select different branches and Soulbinds altogether for different scenarios within the game. With the groundwork laid out in front of us already, this is likely the best scenario we can ask for right now. However, the core issue once again stems from the difficulty between Covenant choices, which locks the remaining 9 Soulbinds behind different Covenants. So while you may enjoy the best rating option in your opinion within your current Covenant, the one you may want for PvP or M+, may be barred behind a separate one. This tease of choice for the Soulbinds within your Covenant feels great, but then you're harshly reminded that you don't have access to all of the goodies that you may want in order to make the best overall choice to fit your needs or gameplay. It's like being given only a hammer, which is alright for smashing a nail, but won't help with baking a cake. Or smashing your mum. The Covenant choice issue has been a heated topic since its inception, and over time I've heard arguments for and grown to respect both sides of the equation. But while the forced Covenant choice is an appropriate desire for injecting an RPG element in an RPG game, I just don't think it's a good fit for an MMO in today's day and age, or more specifically for the kind of community and social interaction that WoW lends itself to. It's like trying to fit a round peg into a square hole, it just doesn't fit. This argument will continue to rage for many a moon, so I'll leave it at that, as the focus of the video was to get a good early preview and share thoughts on Soulbinds and Conduits. Overall, the system seems to have some interesting perks and has the potential to head in a fairly positive direction with some promise, but we need to burn down any red flags early on and help shape it to a place that we will be happy with for release. Well, that does it for me, and I hope you enjoyed this early system preview. Just remember, if you think you've made the wrong choice with a Conduit or Soulbind down the line, just head over to your Covenant Sanctum and swap it quickly, but if the wrong choice was the Covenant entirely, then that's something a pack of Mentos and some cola will easily fix up. And you're always welcome to come hang out in my Twitch channel, where we often talk about everything WoW, along with other pertinent topics like if I grow my hair out, will I look like the Mad Scientist Hearthstone card? Oh, and don't forget to like and subscribe. With beta on the way, I'm going to be overloading this channel with tons of content.